Okay, so now it's time for us to start number 2, but first we have a little bit of upkeep. Obviously, the first thing is we need to advance the round to round 2. Then we need to advance the phase of the moon. It goes clockwise, and so we're now at the air, which is waning gibbous. So we also need to, since Dave and I are both using activation tokens, since we're forgetful, we're going to remove these. Okay. Now our board's all cleaned up and it's ready for us to do another round of Jean Ken. And ready, Dave?
Yep.
Ready? Dang. Okay.
Deke let me win.
I did.
He just let me win. I can see it in his eyes. Okay. So I am player 1 this turn, amazingly.
Yes.
And so I get to now, since I have less than the maximum allowed number of ninjas on the board, I have 5 and I can have up to 6. I can bring one of my guys who's waiting over here in the reserves back onto the board to help me out. So I still want a guy with a bow, so I'm going to grab one of the Yajiris, and they can go anywhere in your setup area, where you deployed guys to begin with in the beginning of the game. So since some of the action is, since I'm sort of concentrated over on this side of the board, I'm going to put him here so he can hopefully move up and help support his fellow teammates. And now that that's done, Deke doesn't have any. Deke has the maximum amount of guys on the board, so he can't bring anybody from his reserves onto the board. So then we're going to go on to activating the first ninja for the turn. So since I'm player 1, I get to do that, and I'm going to choose to activate my Chunin here, which I'm pretty sure Deke did not see coming at all.
I did not want this to happen.
Yeah. So he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and move up onto the well. Sorry. So he goes 1, 2. Now he's in the influence zone of this ninja.
Yes.
So if I wanted to move up onto the wall, I would have to dodge. But even though he's elevated, they are adjacent to each other still. My guy can reach up and hit him, or he could, throw things down at me, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to face him, diagonally here. And I'm going to have my Chunin use his action to attack the Yajiri. Right, it's right here. So my Chunin has an attack of 3. So he's going to roll 3 dice. And I can't get any assists or anything. It's just us straight up against each other. So I don't get to any additional dice for any reason right here.
My Yajiri has 1 poor defense dice. So
yes, there's a reason that I'm picking on Deke's Yajiri.
Yes, exactly.
So we're both going to roll.
Okay, so I've rolled an earth. Dave has rolled
a void and 2 waters. Now my Chunin has an ability called Close Combat Master, where I could re-roll one die in each combat he fights in, but I'm pretty happy with these results, so I'm not going to use it right here. Did you have anything that you wanted to put?
I've got nothing.
All right.
My poor Yajiri just has to get stabbed in the face.
Right, so Deke's Earth doesn't cancel out. There's no air in my dice, so there's no cancellations. And then I have more dice than Deke, so I get to choose which die we're going to use for the result of the combat. So I want to KO Deke's guy because I want to score points and get him off the board here. So I'll pick Void, which KOs the defender. And I score 1 point for KOing a guy. So I'm on the scoreboard, back neck and neck with Deke there. Now I'm done attacking. Now my guy theoretically had more movement, but since he's taken his action, he doesn't get to do anything else. He has to stop his activation and be done. So then it's over to Deke.
Okay. So I did not actually let Dave win Jean Ken because I actually had a plan where I needed to team up on his Chunin because Chunin are very tough. And now that
I think this is some clever pull.
Now that plan is gone. And so now I have to think here for a second while I figure out what I'm doing. So let's see here. So all of the ninja that are within my immediate reach as far as attack, most of them are stealthed, so my guys can't actually see them. His Kunoichi's stealthed, his Kaiken's stealthed. Really the only ninja I can see right now is that Midoshi, so I'm going to go try to beat him up. So we're going to see if my Kaiken can get there. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Whoa! And so now this might be So Fire Ninja are a little more offensive, while the Water Ninja are a little more defensive. So I'm guessing that my 3 attack dice are probably going to be on par with his defense dice.
Yep, my Madoshi does have a defense of 3.
Okay. So we're going to roll here. Okay, so I've got a Water, Air, and Spirit.
And I have a Fire, Void, and Void.
Okay, so now we have to do our cancellations.
What?
So the interesting thing is now we both have moon cards. So since I'm the attacker, I have to decide first if I want to use moon cards or if I want to, or if I have any other abilities that might affect the dice roll. I have to decide if I'm going to use them first. So in this case, I do not have anything. You have to decide if you're going to use those powers before you make any elimination. So I'm not going to do anything. So Dave, are you going to?
Yeah, so my Madoshi has Water Mastery, like we talked about before, which comes in handy in situations like this. Now, you can only use Water Mastery once per round. So if I use it here, I won't be able to use it if I activate my Madoshi to try and make his ability work. But if I don't use it here, my guy's going to get KO'd. So I'm going to re-roll all of these dice because none of them have a water icon on them.
Willis.
Yeah.
Take it. Take one for the team. Okay.
So that's the new roll.
Okay, so this is much worse for me. So Dave's water mastery came in handy. So my water and his fire are going to cancel out. And then nothing else is going to cancel. So now we're tied on the number of dice. Since I'm the attacker, I'm going to get to choose the result. Now, the spirit results are terrible for the attacker because they actually knock out the attacker. Basically, they represent that the defender got the upper hand on you and beat you up.
And wins, yeah.
And wins. Fire is also not good, really, for either of them, in that they beat each other black and blue and they both get stunned. So it's just a knockdown, drag-out fight. So I'm actually going to go with the air result. What air does is essentially let me throw this guy 3 spaces so I can get him. Now I can throw him any direction I want, and one of the best things I like to do in these cases is take these poor guys and throw him back to my ninja so that they can pounce on him. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 spaces so that he's a little bit closer to my ninja. And to add insult to injury, I get to choose his facing. So I'm going to put his back to me. So in a lot of ways, this represents that I've just thrown him to the ground and he's, a little bit helpless. So that's the result of mine. Now, one of the things that is a disadvantage here is my back is now to the Madoshi, so if Dave activates him next, then I'm kind of,
may have some problems.
Going to be in a world of hurt, but we might have tricks for that.
Yes, maybe.
Dave.
All right, so that's the end of his activation.
That's the end of his activation. And I'm gonna
then
get
it's
my token.
my turn. I think I'm gonna do like this guy. I'm gonna have this guy activate this guy. Go 1, 2, 3, 4 to here, and I'm gonna turn to face you, and he is gonna attack your Kaiken who just activated.
Okay.
So now I had stealth, and when I make an attack, I lose stealth. I become unhidden.
Because you just stabbed me.
Yeah, you see it. You see it. But since I was stealthy when I made the attack, I'm going to get an extra die. So normally my Kaiken have an attack of 2. They're not like we said. They have a higher defense than their attack, unlike the Fire Shrine Ninja. So I get another one from attacking from stealth, and then since I'm in the rear 3 spaces of this ninja's, I also get another one. So I'm going to be rolling 4 dice on the attack here.
Okay, so this is going to hurt a lot. So because my poor Kaiken only have 2 defense dice, we're in waning right now, aren't we?
Yeah, waning gibbous.
Okay, so despite that, I am going to play my card, my Moon Deck card. It is called Stone Skin. And what Stone Skin does is it's going to give me +1 defense dice. So it doesn't quite get me up to even, but it gets me a lot closer so that hopefully my poor Kaiken can survive.
So I rolled fire, earth, air, and earth.
And I rolled 2 air and 1 water. So now we're going to make cancellations.
Yeah, I'm the attacker. I have no abilities to play. Deke has a chance to play abilities or cards if he wants
Right,
to.
and I do not have anything right now.
So then this Deke's air here will cancel out my earth. And then we do it again, another air and another earth. And then we've got a water and a fire, so those get canceled out. And we're left with one die that I'm going to have to choose as the attacker. So I'm going to choose that. And it's the same result that Deke got here with the Madoshi. So I'm going to move this guy 3 spaces. So 3. Now, when you do throw a guy, you do have to still pay. Like, so if I wanted to throw him up here, I would pay all 3 to put him on the elevated terrain.
Right.
So it's probably better to move him. Well, putting him on the elevated terrain might be a good idea because it moves him further away from his support. But I kind of want to put him into an area where I'm going to be able to attack later with an assist from this guy here. So I'm going to put him here, and I'm going to have him face the wall because, it's just mean that way.
Okay.
So that's the end of this Kaiken's activation, so I'll put that down on him.
Okay. So, alright. Now, really, my biggest fear is the Madoshi of Dave's hasn't activated yet, and right now, he's gaining up on my Kaiken, so it's time for me to try to bell my Kaiken out. My Chunin has the best chance of doing that, so we're going to activate him. He's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now my Chunin is much like the Kaiken here, or Dave's Kaiken in his attack. My Chunin is stealthed, and since I'm going to attack, I'm going to lose the stealth. And I am attacking from the rear. So my Chunin, fire is all about attack. So my Chunin has a base 4. Then I get +1 for the stealth, and +1 for the back arc.
Yep, and I can't get any assists, and I don't have any bonuses right now, so I'm just getting my basic 3 dice here.
Okay, so assists are one thing that we haven't explained yet, and so this is a good little situation. Normally, if you have multiple guys fighting one guy, they can assist each other. They're going to gang up on each other. So Dave just moved his Kaiken away to show what an assist would look like. So if my Chunin was attacking Dave's Madoshi and that Kaiken wasn't there, my Kaiken could help him out, and I would get 1 more dice. So I would actually have 7 dice for this attack. Unfortunately, Dave does have a Kaiken there, and this Kaiken, my Kaiken is in the influence zone of Dave's Kaiken, which makes it so that these 2 guys, they're still scuffling, so this guy can't actually assist anymore. And so I don't get that assist dice. So when Dave says I get no assist, that's why. We'll probably have a couple situations where we have some very apparent assists, and we'll go over that a little bit more in detail. But for now, we're 6-3, and I'm feeling pretty confident.
I'm good. You're going to roll all spirits. Nothing but spirit.
Okay, so Dave actually just rolled a fantastic roll as a defender.
Yeah.
Because he rolled a lot of spirits, which cancel out voids, and which makes it hard for me to knock him out.
Yeah, Deke would need to roll 3 voids in his dice to be able to just knock out my guy.
Exactly. So now my Chunin has a couple abilities. One is called Close Combat Master, which allows me to reroll a single die when I make a close combat attack. And then another is Precision Strike. And Precision Strike allows me to choose fire as the result of the combat. And it reduces the effects of the fire. We don't have any fire in here, so Precision Strike isn't going to matter at all. And since Dave rolled 2 spirits, even if I re-roll 1 of my dice and get a void, he's just going to cancel it out. So it's not really going to mean anything. So I'm just going to go ahead and let the dice sit as they are. So for cancellations, we've got Dave's Earth and my Air. I didn't roll any void, and so the spirits are there. So now I'm going to get to choose a result from the entire pool. I'm going to go with green, which is Earth, and that is going to stun his Madoshi. Now what this means is when you're stunned, your Madoshi, well, any model that's stunned, they have to, on their next activation, they have to sacrifice either their movement or their action. So they can't use both because they're stunned. So.
And once they've paid with either their movement or their action, then they get to take the stun counter off and no longer be stunned. So.
Correct. So, okay, and so that is it for my Chunin. And so we are going to Finish there, and now it is Dave's.
So I'm going to activate him. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And while he doesn't have a great chance of doing much, he is going to shoot at the Chunin here with his bow. So he's got 2 dice, if I remember. Yeah, so I've got 2 dice from the Yajiri shooting.
Okay, and you're shooting the Chunin?
Yep.
The Chunin has a defense of 3, so this fight right now is already in my favor because I'm rolling more dice. So, here we go.
I don't have any abilities.
And I don't have any abilities. My Close Combat Master only works in close combat. It doesn't work against ranged or when making a defense roll.
And Deke gets to choose, but as we're talking about, only Earth or Void results do anything in a ranged attack. So this is my bow. He probably batted it out of the air with his swords, and it's not going to do anything to him.
Correct. So ranged attacks only have effects on 2 elements. In part, that is just to counteract the fact that as a ranged attack, none of the detrimental effects of an attack can happen to you when you're using a bow. So like, I cannot like choose a spirit result and knock him out because it's a bow that is getting shot at us. And so that keeps bows potent. So when they work, they really work. But
you have to kind of work to get them to work.
Exactly. Okay, so Dave has finished his guy, and so now it is my turn. And I'm going to take my Yajiri. I'm going to go 1, 2 into the water, 3, 4, 5 up onto the elevation, and I am going to shoot at his Yajiri.
And I've got a defense of 2.
Okay, so I have an attack with my bow of 2, and you have the bush there.
Yeah, since he's on elevated terrain, he can see through this bush to shoot me.
Okay.
So he can see over the bush. But if he were here and it had to come through the bush, then he wouldn't be able to see this guy.
Okay, so in this case, the elevation is making it so that I get to see over the bush, which is part of the reason why I jumped up there. So let's go ahead and do this attack. Okay, so we have nothing that cancels. Dave got 2 earth, I got 1 spirit and 1 water. I'm the attacker. We rolled the same number of dice, so I get to choose. I'm going to take the earth and stun his Yajiri.
Yep. Alright, so Deke's Yajiri just shot this guy and stunned him with his bow. So now I'm going to go with her, my Kunoichi here. And so she's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then she is going to attack the Yajiri. So she has an attack of 1. Kunoichi aren't they don't have lots of dice, but they're very maneuverable. So, but I'm attacking out of stealth, so I get an extra dice. So I have 2 dice.
Okay. Poor Yajiri, as you'll recall, not very defense oriented, so I only have 1 dice.
Yes. So we roll.
Here you go. Yajiri, shooting you in the face. Ah, look at all that water.
Yep, a lot of water. As the attacker, I don't have any cards or abilities to play.
Okay, and nor do I as the defender.
And there's no cancellations, and I'm going to have to take water. Now, the way water works is player who picked it moves the attacking model 3 spaces. So I'm going to move her back 3 spaces. So 1, 2, 3. And then I pick a facing for her. She's going to keep facing the same way. Now the defender, the opposing player, gets to move their model and put it anywhere in the front arc of the attacker, facing whichever direction they want to.
So I'm going to move him over. Since he's a Yajiri, I want him elevated, so I'm going to keep him on the elevated area. So
yeah, so we've been calling this result "move the combat." It kind of pulls like both the attacker and the defender get moved to a new area.
Right.
And you can use it kind of like air to bring them closer to your guys or further away from what have you, right?
It really represents like what you'll see in anime where ninja will, do a flurry of activity and the fight just keeps moving all over the place.
Right.
So, I mean, between the water result and the air result, it makes it so that your ninja get to be throwing each other around, they get to bounce all over battles. We've actually had battles where like 2 combatants will start at one edge of the board and move all the way over, just keep going. And it makes it so that not always, depending on the challenge, do you want to hurt the ninja. Sometimes, so like Capture the Metal challenge and some of the others, movement is far more important, and so you will choose not to knock out someone because you need to move them to a different area to get them away from something. And it really adds an extra tactical depth to it. So
It's more interesting than just, like, we originally had it where, you would only ever stun or knock guys out,
Right.
and it got a little boring sometimes, honestly.
Right. It turned into a big slogfest, and this really gave it a lot of that more dynamic movement. So,
Yep.
Okay, so Dave's gone, so now it is my turn. And what are we gonna do here? So all Dave has left that hasn't activated is his stealth Kaiken over there and his Madoshi over there. I'm going to try to continue to beat up on this Madoshi. The Madoshi's already got a stun token. I'm going to try to shift this combat into my favor. Get this Kaiken in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this Kaiken is stealthed. So he's going to make an attack and remove his stealth token. He also managed to get into one of the 3 rear squares on the Madoshi. And so the Kaiken has 3 attack normally. Now he gets 1 for the stealth. He gets 1 for being in the back. And now in this case, my other Kaiken still can't assist because he's still battling it out with Dave's Kaiken. However, my Chunin is not fighting anyone else besides the Madoshi, so the Chunin gets to lend to this combat. So my Kaiken's coming in with a mighty 6.
And I get my basic 3 as well, since I'm not able to get any defensive assists either. So.
Right. So now we're gonna roll. Okay, so my Kaiken doesn't have any special abilities here. Once again, despite rolling a fistful of dice, I got no void results. So I actually got 2 fires, 1 water, 1 spirit, 1 earth, and 1 air.
And I got one earth and 2 airs. And you have the first chance to play it.
Okay, I have nothing on this guy. He's going to modify the combat. So do you?
Well, I have Water Master, but I used it earlier, so
Right.
I can't use it now. And even if I could, in this case, since there are no voids in this, I don't want to reroll dice at this point.
Right. So let's go ahead and cancel things out. So my air and Dave's earth are going to cancel out. My earth and Dave's air are going to cancel out. And so now this is the final pool. I have the most dice, so I get to choose something. Spirit pretty much is the attacker. You're never going to choose because it knocks you out. The fire tends to be detrimental as well, especially since these are low-level ninja. They're not part of a league, so they don't really have a lot of cool things they can do with fire yet. So that really leaves me with water and air. So I can move the combat, or I can throw the Madoshi. I think I kind of like where we're at, but we got to choose one. So I'm going to move the combat. I'm just going to move it just a little bit. So I'm just going to move my guy right there. And so now Dave has to choose one of the fronts. So unfortunately so in this case, I really would have preferred not to choose a result. But there always has to be a result of the combat, because I pretty much had his Madoshi in the best situation possible.
Yes.
But since I had to choose a result, I chose one to just kind of move him around a little bit. Really, now in hindsight, now that I look at how Dave just moved his Madoshi, I should have chosen the throw. That way I could have chosen his facing and everything. Of course, since he hasn't activated, he's going to get to move and undo it anyway. So really, that was a very good defensive effort by the Madoshi there.
Aha!
So
the Madoshi's gotten pretty lucky twice.
Yeah, he has.
So. All right, so then it's my guys, right? So
Correct.
This guy's gone, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. Let me put my activation token there.
Okay, this guy's gonna run. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to here.
Goodness.
And stop. And put still in stealth.
Still in stealth.
And over to you.
Okay. So all I have left is my Madoshi. And so what we're going to do here is I've got his Kaiken coming up. His Kaiken is in stealth though, so my Madoshi can't actually see him. So, normally what I would probably do is go try to beat up the Chunin here, but since this is a demo game, I want to show you how you can attempt to try to reveal somebody who is in stealth. So my Midoshi is actually going to come up here and make it so that this Kaiken is in my influence zone. And while he's in my influence zone, I can choose to search for him. Searching is very simple. All I'm going to do is make an affinity test. As long as I get 1 dice as fire, since that's my affinity, then I'm going to reveal any stealth models in my affinity in my influence zone. So I'm going to roll. I got 1 fire, so he is no longer stealthed. So now I've at least saved my Midoshi the indignity of getting stabbed by a super sneaky ninja.
Yeah.
And so there's that.
All right, now it's my Midoshi's turn. He's the only guy left. So he is stunned. So I could move, or I could take an action. So he's actually going to pay with he's not going to move, he's going to pay with his movement to get rid of his stun. And then he's going to attack this Kaiken here. So my basic attack is 2 dice. And I don't have any bonuses, so it's just 2.
Okay, my Kaiken's basic defense is also 2 dice.
So we're just going to roll. And I've got no abilities to play.
Nor do I. Well, you do have Water Mastery.
Right. I used it on the Chunin.
Yes, right.
So the fire and the water cancel each other out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm left with air and spirit. So again, I'm going to take air because I don't want to KO myself, amazingly enough. And we'll put him right here, facing that way. And that'll be that for the Midoshi.
Okay. Okay, it's now the end of round 2. So first thing we're going to do is just a little bit of upkeep. We're going to get rid of our activation tokens here. And then Dave was player 1. So
I don't have anybody KO'd to move down, and so I have to decide whether I want to draw a card. I could remove the stuns from this guy, or I could move an additional guy here. I don't have anybody there. And I want a card more than I want to get rid of this stun counter, so I'm going to grab another card. And then it's Deke's turn.
Okay, so I have 1 guy in my KO, so down he comes. And since I don't need to move extra people down and I have no one stunned right now, I'm going to also draw a card. Okay, so now we're going to move to round 3. The phase of the moon is going to move 1 more time. And it is time for some Jean-Ken.